So Israel really wanted to bomb Iran recently, but had to be stopped by the United States because of the upcoming World Cup. So this is coming to us from Israeli Channel 14, which says, and I quote, Israel reportedly wanted to hit Iran again recently, but was told no by the US. An IDF official says an attack on Iran is off the table at this stage, partly due to the upcoming FIFA World Cup and America's 250th anniversary. The Israeli Air Force dropped plans for heavy bombing of Beirut due to American pressure over fears of Iranian retaliation and derailing of the peace process, which Donald Trump is adamant to complete before the World Cup happens, right? And instead, escalation continues in southern Lebanon. So essentially, the Israelis really wanted to go and bomb Iran. The Americans told them, no, you cannot do that. Then the Israelis had planned to go and bomb Beirut. And then once again, the Americans had to stop the Israelis because Iran, as we know, has said that they will not sign a peace deal with the United States if there is still a war in Lebanon. And as you can imagine, this has gotten the Israelis really angry. I mean, Israel already gets antsy if it hasn't bombed someone in a few minutes. And so in order to satiate the bloodlust of the Israelis to go and bomb Iran, this is what we are getting from Israel Hayom, which is a very popular newspaper in Israel and is also owned by Israel's richest person, Miriam Adelson. And that name should sound familiar because she's one of the biggest donors of Donald Trump, right? So this is from the newspaper she owns, and it says in Israel's political cabinet just got a private American briefing on Iran, which is already crazy, right? So the Americans are giving a private briefing to a foreign country, almost like they're giving a briefing to the US government, right? And the message from the senior US official who was talking to the Israelis was careful, measured, and deliberately honest, which goes on to say, and I quote, there is no certainty that an agreement will be reached, the Americans are saying to the Israelis. However, if it happens, a deal between the US and Israel, and that's a big if, it will be one that Israel will be satisfied with, right? And so in plain English, as this post says, we might get a deal with Iran, we might not, but if we do, it won't screw you, the Israelis, over. Israel is watching these negotiations closely. Israel really doesn't want a deal between Washington and Iran, and Washington knows it. This briefing was about one thing, keeping Jerusalem calm while the diplomacy plays out, because Israel is itching to restart the bombardment of Iran. And now that the US has, at least for the time being, asked the Israelis not to bomb Iran or not to bomb Beirut in particular, the Israelis are just having to satiate their bloodlust by bombing areas in southern Lebanon. So this is from the Times of Israel today. As the IDF pushes north of Lebanon security zone, Netanyahu says Israel seizing strategic positions. So this is basically Netanyahu letting the Israeli people know that, hey, even though you cannot celebrate seeing Iran or Beirut being bombed to bits, because as we all know, the Israelis love seeing the stuff, do not worry, we still have the permission of the Americans to go and take as much land as we want from Israeli perspective would be northern Lebanon, and we can also continue to bomb some villages there as well, unalive some children. And it's not just the Israelis that are freaking out. Donald Trump is also having his very famous crash out on Truth Social. So as you can see, this is the huge post that he wrote. So it says, and I quote, if Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of the sea, and their air force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each shouting, I surrender, while wildly waving the representative white flag, and if their entire remaining leadership signs all necessary documents of surrender and admit their defeat of the great and powerful force of the United States, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journal, okay, corrupt and now irrelevant CNN, and all other members of the fake news media, and will headline that Iran had a masterful and brilliant victory over the United States of America. It wasn't even close. The dumb autocrats and media have totally lost their way. They have gone absolutely crazy. President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, you write this essay on Truth Social and they're the ones they're crazy, right? And Donald Trump is freaking out because his ego cannot take that he's essentially lost the war with Iran in the US versus Iran phase of the war, it all comes down to one thing: who controls the Strait of Hormuz? The US, as the world superpower, obviously has to show the world that they dominate such an important strategic choke point through which 20% of the world's oil flows through, right? But now Iran is the one that's controlling the strait totally. So this came out today. The IRGC is running a choke point in the Strait of Hormuz. 25 vehicles crossed in the past 24 hours, which is huge. Oil tankers, container ships, commercial carriers, all with permits issued by the IRGC Navy. No permit, no passage, and not even from the US Navy. The IRGC called it smart control of the strait carried out with authority. Any violation, they warned, would be met with crushing blows. The strait is technically open and Iran is technically in charge of it, which is a huge blow for Donald Trump. And as we can all see by his many crash outs and him lying all over the internet, he's not taking it too well. If you've enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more.